Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I already made two videos of this kind, one about the Atlantic and one about the Metropolitan Division. Today let's hit the Western Conference and I will start it off with the Central Division. Wearing again a very beautiful jersey, the reverse retro of the Arizona Coyotes from 2020. Fantastic jersey, I absolutely love it. And talking about the Central is a good reason to wear this jersey, because I think this team might not be in the playoff conversation, but yeah, we will come to that. The Central Division, yeah. I was very surprised looking up at Cap Friendly that all 8 teams have cap space. Nobody is above the cap in the Central Division, and this was a big surprise for me. So let's talk about all the 8 teams in the Central Division. I give you some thoughts on them. Let's have a look. Alright, ready? Okay, let's go. Let's start off with the team that won the Central Division in 2021-2022, and they of course went on to win the Stanley Cup, the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche, a fantastic team, absolutely deserved winning the Stanley Cup. They lost Nazem Kadri in the offseason, and yeah, I think this will hurt them. Not as bad as you might expect, but it will definitely hurt them. He had a fantastic season, absolute career year. Let's hope he can do it all again in Calgary, but we will come to that when we talk about the Pacific. Colorado will miss Nazem Kadri. And I don't expect them to be as dominant as they were last season, but yeah, sure pick for the playoffs, of course. With a core of Rantanen, Landeskog, McKinnon, with Cale Makar, Sam Girard, Bowen Byram at the blue line. The goaltending with Georgiev and Pavel Francouz, I think, is not bad, but they will also miss Darcy Kemper, who is now of course in Washington. Their cap situation, yeah, as mentioned, they do have cap space, 3.9 million, and nothing to care about right now regarding the cap, so they can bring someone in at the deadline. They have all their first round picks in the next 3 years. Let's see what they do with that. But what will be interesting with the Avalanche is not this offseason, but the next one. When some guys up, I know you might have heard this name, Nathan McKinnon is up in 2023. So he has a contract year. What will he do? Or might the unthinkable happen and Colorado is out of the playoff conversation at the deadline? May they even trade Nathan McKinnon? Just the devil's advocate. I don't know. I don't think so, but yeah, you never know. On defense, yeah, Eric Johnson is up, which will free some cap space for them. But what they save with him, they can give straight away to Bowen Byram, who is also up next year. It will stay interesting to watch the Colorado Avalanche on and off the ice, because Joe Sakic did a fantastic job. Let's see how this progresses. Second last year in the Central were the Minnesota Wild. And I was even more surprised that they have cap space, because the buyouts of Ryan Suter and Zach Parise for the 2022-2023 season, this is on their books with $12.7 million against the cap. And for the next 2 seasons, so 2023-2024 and 2024-2025, these 2 guys, Suter and Parise, for not playing on the Wild, are on the cap, are on the books, against the cap with $14.7 million. Thereafter it gets less. They have 1.6 in the 3 years between 2025 and 2028. But 12.7 million this year, 14.7 the 2 years to come against the cap for Parise and Suter not playing on the Wild. This is ridiculous. They will have a problem because of that. Yeah, their cap went down from 82.5 for this year to $70 million. Let's see if they are compatible. I think they will, because Kirill Kaprizov is there. He is a fantastic player, had a fantastic season, and I think he can even get better. Their defense is solid, their offense is okay. They will definitely miss Kevin Fiala, who is now in LA. They could not re-sign him because of all this dead cap. And they still have $4.3 million in cap space. That was not enough to sign Fiala, who I think got 7.5 from the Kings. Something around this. We will see that in the Pacific video. Their defense is solid. Their goaltending, yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury is an older goaltender. Let's see if he can keep it up. I think with 37, he has the right to decline. He won 3 Stanley Cups and was a fantastic goalie for 20 years. Back up Philip Gustafsson, who they brought in the trade from Ottawa, is a young guy, 24 years of age. RFA next season, this could be interesting as well. Like Matt Dunbar will be up next year. Freddie Gaudreau, Tyson Jost. So not major, but Dunbar could be of consequence. Like Dmitry Kulikov, who is also up next year. Let's see. But I think the Wild peaked last season. They will have a hard time keeping that up. Not only because of, they got a year older, but mainly because of this huge amount of dead cap they're carrying now for the next 3 years. Third in the Central last year were the St. Louis Blues. They are still a very solid team, a very balanced team. They can hit you from the top to the bottom with everything. They can be a very dangerous team. The goaltending, Jordan Binnington, who proved again last year that he is inconsistent in the regular season, but brilliant in the playoffs until Nazem Kadri took him out. He will be backed up this year by Thomas Reis, who came over from Detroit as a free agent. He is 36, solid backup over the last years in Detroit. Let's see what he does in combination with Jordan Binnington. Their defense is good, but it's also expensive. With 3 guys, Justin Falk, Torrey Krug and Colton Parayko, all have $6.5 million contracts. Then comes Nick Leddy with 4, Marco Scandella 3.275. This is an expensive blue line, but not a bad one. The Blues have a little bit of cap, but the fewest amount in the Central with $625,000. And they have Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, and their last year's MVP, Jordan Kyrou, all in contract years. Interesting, let's see what happens there. More expiring contracts next year, Logan Brown, Josh Levo, Noel Achari, Ivan Barbashev. This could be very interesting to see how the Blues handle the cap from 2023 onwards, especially with Jordan Kyrou, who is right now on the contract for 1 more year at $2.8 million. This will not be enough to keep him in St. Louis. But he is an RFA. Let's see what happens. I think the Blues are also a solid pick for the playoffs. Most likely, I will predict them coming in second behind Colorado. A very good team. Let's see how it works and how they will handle their cap in the years to come. Up next, the Dallas Stars, who ended up 4th last season in the Central Division and made the playoffs, only to lose to the Calgary Flames. The Stars will be very interesting this year. Just on the paper, they have more than $10 million in cap space. But they have not signed, at the day of recording, Jason Robertson and Jake Ottinger. Both RFAs. I think Robertson, who was their leading scorer last year, he can command $7.5, $8 million for a long-term contract, maybe even more. Absolutely possible. And Jake Ottinger in the series against Calgary was by far the only reason Dallas was not swept. He was brilliant. He was so good. This is just a small sample size, 1 playoff series. He also was good in the regular season, but not as brilliant as in the playoffs. How much is that worth, Mr. Nell? That's the question. As mentioned, both not signed, and this will... don't think $10.3 million will be enough to sign both of these guys. Because the Dallas Stars have a problem also with their cap. Tyler Seguin at $9.85 million for 5 more years. He has not performed in the last at least 3 years. Jamie Benn at $9.5 million. Absolutely the same. These guys together eating up $19 million in cap and both not performing up to their contracts. This is a problem for Dallas. Joe Pavelski was brilliant for them last year. Pavelski with Robertson and Roope Hintz, their best line by far. They lost John Klingberg on the blue line. Brought in Colin Miller. Okay, let's see what happens there. I think their blue line is not the problem. Their goaltending, if they sign Ottinger, not as well. But their forward group with Ben and Sagan leading the charge, should lead the charge, what they don't do for the last years. Let's see how this turns out. But I think even if the Stars sign Robertson and Ottinger, if Ben and Sagan can't live up to their contracts again, they might have a problem, and I'm pretty sure I will not pick them for the playoffs in 2023. Up next, the Nashville Predators. They have a little bit of cap space, $2.4 million almost. Yeah, okay, they can still do something, but they're not in need. They do not have any restricted free agents they have to sign. They are solid in goal with Jussi Saros, who had a fantastic season and unfortunately couldn't compete in the playoffs against Colorado, because I think this would have not changed the outcome of the series against Colorado, but at least tightened the series. They have a new backup, which is Kevin Lankinen, who was the last 2 years in Chicago, and I think their best goaltender. I don't know why they let him go. The Predators dealing with the buyout of Kyle Turris, $2 million against the cap for the next 6 years as dead money. Okay. The defense group led by Roman Josi, who I think should have won the Norris Trophy last year. He had a fantastic season with 96 points and was by far the best defenseman on the Avalanche, on the Predators. They added Ryan McDonough. Okay, good call. Matthias Ekholm is still there. Dante Fabro in a contract year. He can perform very, very good. And I think he will. Because, yeah, contract year. He wants the money. Up front, yeah, Philip Forsberg was re-signed for 8 more years. Good call. Very solid player. Their best offensive player by far. Matt Duchene had a career year last year. Let's see if he can again live up to this contract, which is $8 million. Like Ryan Johansson, they added Nino Niederreiter, very good second line player, depth scorer. I think the Predators are in a very good position. Very good and very solid run team. They even have extra draft picks for next year. This could be pretty interesting what they do with that. I think the Predators should be definitely in the mix for the 3rd spot in the division and for the playoffs. Let's see what happens. The team that ended 6th last year in the Central Division were the Winnipeg Jets. And they did not have a great season. First they had Paul Maurice behind the bench, then he stepped away. His replacement, it didn't work either, so they missed the playoffs. This year with another coach, Rick Bowness is coming in, who coached the Dallas Stars in the last years. Let's see what happens there. Their group is, I think, solid. Connor Hellebuck in goal. Yeah, he can play a lot, and he will play a lot because his backup this year is Big Save David Riddick. Let's see how this turns out. But the Jets will start getting a problem if they overplay Hellebuck, which they tend to do, unfortunately. Let's hope Riddick can have a bounce-back season and give Hellebuck the rest he will need. IR player Cole Perfetti, who was their draft pick in 2020, supposed to be a very solid player, center right winger, didn't play that much and he's again on the IR. Let's hope he comes back. I think their defense is quite good. Morrissey, Schmidt, Pionk, Brenton Dillon DeMello, yeah, and Dylan Samberg and Logan Stanley, who are both restricted free agent next year in their contract years. I expect, especially from Logan Stanley, who is quite a big guy and a quite physical guy, I expect a lot from him. Like from the whole defensive group, I expect a bounce back that they are way better than they were last year. From their forward group as well. It was rumors that Mark Scheifele will be out, will be traded. No, he was not. He's still there at the day of recording. He is UFA in 2024, so no urgency, no need to rush. Blake Wheeler is still there for 2 more seasons. The captain, face of the franchise. His cap might be a little high now, but he definitely deserved the contract he has right now. And I think he can be better than he was last year. The by far best player last season was, of course, Kyle Connor, 40 goal scorer, almost 100 points. Brilliant season. If he can keep that up, the Jets are in a good position. to fight again for a playoff spot. And I think they're not chanceless if some more good calls are made and maybe some more players come in at the deadline, as they have $6.28 million in cap space, so they can do something. Let's see if they will, because they have not stockpiled a lot of draft picks and do not have that many expiring contracts. The big question, I think, will be Pierre-Luc Dubois, who can be a fantastic power forward, great player, center, could be their first line center and push Scheifele down to second line. He has the potential and the ability. But rumors was that he said in public he wants to go to Montreal, or was it his agent? Now he's back in Winnipeg for $6 million for one more year, and will be a restricted free agent again next season. Let's see what happens there. But I think the Jets, whether this works out or not, are in a good position to fight for a playoff spot. Let's see if they make it. This brings us to the Chicago Blackhawks, who finally confirmed that, yeah, they're doing a rebuild. They traded off Kirby Duck to Montreal. They traded off Alex DeBrincat to Ottawa. Let's see. 2 talented young players. Trade them off to signal the beginning of a rebuild. Okay, I've never heard that before. And I've heard a lot of things. But trading off your future for a rebuild. Okay, maybe they know something nobody else knows. Anyway, the Blackhawks are not expected to be anywhere close to the playoffs in the 2022-2023 season. They are expected to go Bedard hunting, who is pretty sure, the number 1 overall pick in 2023. Let's see if the Blackhawks get him. Would be quite interesting to do the direct transfer from Jonathan Toews as their first line center to Connor Bedard. Because Toews, yeah, he and Patrick Kane both have the same contract, $10.5 million, and they're both UFAs in 2023. Tyler Johnson is on the books with $5 million for 2 more seasons. Brought in from Tampa when they had the opinion last year that they could compete for a playoff spot. It turned out not to be. The rest of the forward group, yeah, Andreas Athanasiou and Max Domi are in for $3 million. They're both in their late 20s. All the other guys are on cheap contracts, entry-level contracts, so not that much to expect from the Blackhawks. No playoffs, of course, but learning experience for all these young guys. I will especially have a look out for Boris Tkachuk and for Tyler Reddish, who both came over from Tampa in the Brandon Hagel deal. Also, once again, trading away a young forward like Brandon Hagel for something even further away in the future. Trading away the future for the future. Okay, I'm not GM, what do I know? The defense, of course, with the huge contract of Seth Jones that kicks in this year, $9.5 million for 8 years. This is pure madness. The rest of their decor mixed. Yeah, Jake McCabe is there. Jack Johnson, fresh off Colorado with a cup ring, signs for 1 more year. And their goaltending is totally new with Peter Mrazek and Alex Stalock. I don't expect much from the Chicago Blackhawks, but give the young guys learning experience, and they could be pretty interesting to watch at the trade deadline. Will they trade Toews and Kane and some other guys? I think they will, but remains to be seen. And finally, the reason for me wearing this jersey, team number 8 in the Central, the Arizona Coyotes. They have the most cap space in the whole NHL, more than $20 million. And if you have some bad contracts, come on, call Arizona. They will take everything. All they want is draft picks. They have stockpiled draft picks again for the next 3 drafts already. Let me count. For the next 3 years, they have their own 3 first-round picks. They have 8 second-round picks and 7 third-round picks already. And the trade deadline is not even close. They could go out, trade away everything, everyone, just to get more draft picks. And they are clearly in the hunt for Connor Bedard in 2023. Their roster, okay, led by Clayton Keller, who is clearly the face of their franchise. He is signed for 6 more years for $7.15 million. I think that's good. And he is going nowhere. Everybody thought Alex DeBrincat would be going nowhere, but Clayton Keller really is going nowhere. Further guys, Andrew Ladd finally will be a free agent. Nick Ritchie will be a free agent. They could deal out Christian Fisher, Jack McBain, Nick Bukestad. And on D, Shane Gostisbehere is expiring next year. Troy Stetcher is brought in for 1 year. Basically, they are a bunch of bad contracts and young players trying to work their way up. And this could stay like that for next 3-4 years, something like that. You don't expect anything, and you do not expect playoffs from the Arizona Coyotes. What's even more interesting with them is watching them off the ice as they are out of Gila River Arena, and are now playing for 3 years at ASU in a 5,000 seat arena. The NHL in a 5,000 seat arena? Sure? Really? You want to do that? Okay. Let's see what happens. I think the Coyotes will have a hard time in years to come, but they could be a lot of fun if all their young guys, all their prospects, all their draft picks pan out and the rebuild finally comes to an end in 2026, maybe 2027, something like that. Do they get the new building? This is not clear yet. I heard they had some problems with Phoenix Airport because they want to build the new building right in the short final. This is not a good idea. Me as an air traffic controller, I know what I'm talking about. Don't build a building in the short final of an international airport. This cannot work. Let's see what the Coyotes do. They will stay interesting, definitely. And in case they do not get the new building, they are the candidate to be moved. Alright, that's it for this one. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the teams in the Central Division? Who will go to the playoffs? Who will get Connor Bedard? Let's see. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And see you soon with another video when we talk about the Pacific Division. This should be in 6 days from now. Thanks again. Have a good time. Goodbye.